Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Max Reacts to Marvel Crisis Protocol. Now, I know it's not Wednesday with William for Web Warriors, but it is Wolverine today, and Sabretooth. Alright, whatever, let's jump into it. Alrighty, so for those that haven't seen it just yet, Wolverine and Sabretooth actually got their cards announced. So we're kind of gonna, question what we said previously about the other kind of cards, like the expectation from the announcement versus what we actually got. And so far, what they said was obviously pretty on point. There's not too much that we saw that was kind of a little bit different. And so the analysis that I had, if you haven't watched that, you can go watch that video. But the analysis that I had was fairly on point. So I'm gonna toot my own horn on that one. But quickly, let's run through what are the strengths and weaknesses of Wolverine. For starters, 7 health. Absolutely huge. Even with 4 threat, 7 health is definitely up there, especially with 4 physical defense. 3 energy, fairly stock standard. 2 mystic, honestly isn't a huge downside. I know that energy is one of the lowest defenses in the game, but I think Mystic is also one of the most underrepresented attacks in the game. It's not something that's common. So I don't think it's a huge weakness. Maybe a couple heavy hitters like maybe MODOK coming in for his builder attack, or Doctor Strange coming in and doing his kind of big Ragu power blast that also gives you an activated token anyway. So you've got a 50-50 chance there to just not have a turn anyway, let alone die. So like, yeah, if that stuff happens, don't put Wolverine near those characters. Or alternatively, I'll go through how you can just kill those characters instead. Alrighty, let's jump into it. So we have Adamantium Slash. They said that pretty much in the explanation they released, the panel to play. 5 hits, it's your builder attack, bleed and pierce, absolutely huge. Now, why is this ability really strong? Well, for starters, a builder attack with 5 dice offering bleed and pierce is pretty huge. Not gonna lie, very powerful, very strong. You add any amount of rerolls to that, you're feeling pretty good. Any amount of extra dice, you're feeling pretty good. Range 2, you're feeling pretty garbage. So take that into consideration. Definitely a low ranged attack. But why do we not care about that? Well, let's dive a bit further on. We're going to skip Berserk Rage very briefly. We're going to do the best at what I do. It is an action. It is his charge. It is Wolverine's charge. It is 3 power. And you're thinking, Max, most charges are 2 power. Why is Wolverine's 3? That seems garbage. Well, let me tell you, random person from the crowd, that whenever you attack, each wild actually counts as 2 successes. Now keep in mind, this is only for Adamantium Slash. You don't get to do a Berserker Barrage, but you do get to Adamantium Slash. He's got a medium movement with a range 2. He's probably going to get into range 2 of whatever he wants, whether it's a move into the best at what I do, or you can the best what I do, use Adamantium Slash as a builder attack to then Berserker Rage. Now, a couple of things again, any amount of rerolls, add in some extra dice like Thanos or anything, any shenanigans like that, is going to be absolutely huge for this attack. You're moving in, you're throwing 5 dice, maybe a cheeky reroll in there. Any wild not only removes one of their shields, not only bleeds, but also counts as 2 successes. So if they had a shield and you had a wild, where that would actually negate to 0, that is now 2 damage that you're pushing through. I think that's absolutely huge. That's absolutely massive. It has a huge spike chance, and you almost want to reroll hits into wilds if you have the opportunity. Probably not, but if your opponent, as an example, has like Hex on them or Incinerate, just lowering their defense a little bit, you can be guaranteeing 4 to 5 damage on this attack. Because a wild or even 2 wilds is 4 hits. You only need 1 more hit after that. If you get a hit crit wild in your 5 dice, unlikely, but hit wild, that's still 4 hits, you know? And that's just off 3 dice. It's pretty huge. So I think that's an incredibly powerful attack. Again, 3 power is pretty huge, but at the same time, you can already see that Wolverine actually doesn't have a lot of ways to spend power. He's got the best at what I do and Berserker Barrage, which is really interesting. I immediately see him going pretty well in like in a defender's list, like someone that wants to actually spend power. Probably not so good in Cabal because he doesn't have a multitude of attacks. Maybe Avengers could be really good because the best of what I do, having the actual 2-cost charge is very relevant. Definitely makes him weaker early in the game because he needs to generate his power before he can really get involved. And again, having that range 2 attack, it's going to be quite hard for him to generate power in general. So once Wolverine's in the fight, he's in the thick of it. Don't you worry about that. But trying to get him into the fight can be a little rough. So even characters that can move him around the board will definitely synergize really well with Wolverine. Now, let's jump back up a step here. Back up. We've moved forward. Now we got to step back. You know the feels. Berserker Barrage. Now this is where I think Wolverine definitely can be quite potent, and having 3 power in your back pocket to just whip this out at some point is pretty huge. Particularly, say you're later on in the game, you've got your 6 power, because he's been attacked a bunch or whatever it is. Maybe he's on his flip side. Um, Doing something like the best at what I can do, being able to move an attack, or even Berserker Barrage into the best at what I do to then move an attack with the Adamantium Slash on someone else past him, or past that character you're attacking, is really, really huge. Now, what does Berserker Barrage do? For starters, it's a 3 dice attack, 7 dice. Sorry, 3 range attack, 7 dice. Alright, look, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Let's continue reading, but that's pretty good. If before damage is actually dealt, you get to move yourself within range 1 of the target. So again, say you're literally 3 range out, you then get to put yourself within range 1 on the other side of that base. Now, if that's a big chunky base like a Modok or something like that, you're almost moving range 4, range 5 at that point for free. Well, I mean not for 3, for 3 power, but like that's pretty schmick. That's not a small amount of movement that you've got to do there. I was thinking that Wolverine was going to like throw himself into a target, which I think would have been really, really cool. But this is still a huge amount of movement. You really need to emphasize, if you got someone on an objective, Wolverine's on that objective with you from being outside of range 3, and potentially onto the objective next to you or beside you, because he gets to move to range 1, and then potentially the best at what I do, get to move and attack again or something, some crazy shenanigans like that. So he has a huge range of movement here. Even like the front tanker, you come in, punch them, move behind them onto a squishy target behind to actually get into range to Adamantium Slash. It's pretty huge. It keeps going as well. So if this attack deals damage, after the attack is resolved, if the character size 3 or less, you also get to throw them small. So not only do you get to put yourself on the objective, you actually get to throw them off the objective. This is a really, really huge play. Even putting Wolverine on someone like Web Warriors as an example, people that want to play the objective game and try and push people off and around, having an Adamantium Slash with a couple rerolls isn't too shabby. I think they're only defensive rerolls, so tell a lie. But having a defensively rerolling 7 health tanky character with 4 physical defense on an objective that constantly throws you off the objective, it's pretty cute. Real cute. It's a power play, but it's pretty cute. Now, a couple other really awesome things about this. So for starters, healing factor 2, I want to touch on that really, really quickly because, again, talking to some about rerolls from Web Warriors, getting to reroll skulls and defensive on the board. You take 2-3 damage on Wolverine. At the end of his activation, you can heal up to 2 wounds off him. That's what healing factor does. It says at the end of activation, you can remove up to 2 wounds. So pretty tanky. If you can't one-shot Wolverine and 4 physical with 7 health and then even 3 energy defense, it's going to be pretty hard to one-shot. You're going to put 2 or 3 characters into trying to flip Wolverine. And even if you do that, like you're spending 2 or 3 characters to try and flip Wolverine, I have a lot of freedom on that turn to spend elsewhere, which I think is really, really huge. So it's a good threat soak. Immunity to stun, also really huge, means he's always going to have the power to do what he wants. But when you throw him on the objective with Berserker Barrage and throw them off the objective, when determining if this character can be thrown or pushed by an effect or special rule, or when colliding with another character, this includes allies, keep that in mind, he counts as size 3 because he's so heavy. That's really important because it means he can't get thrown off objectives by a lot of characters. A lot of characters actually have a size 2 throw, not a size 3 throw, except some of the bigger characters. So that's actually pretty huge. If you also get to throw Wolverine into enemies or things like that, that's also pretty big because it means that you're counted as size 3 rather than size 2. If you do get thrown into your own allies, though, gonna be some problems. So I'd imagine if you're playing Wolverine, you probably want to take Brace for Impact and use that as one of your restricted cards. Now, what about the flip side of Wolverine? There's a couple of things that change, which is really interesting. For starters, the big predominant one is he is 5 health on the flip side, not 7. Pretty huge. Pretty huge. That is a scary thing because suddenly he can get one shot. I feel if you get a cheeky mystic attack or a cheeky energy attack and something maybe Wolverine's incinerated, bit of a problem. So 5 health is a little scary here. I think he will run into a couple problems on the flip side. But again, 7 health, maybe a bunch of rerolls on Web Warriors as an example, or another healing ability to throw into him suddenly makes him pretty hard to flip. So keep that in mind. He also finally has Wild Rage, which adds 1 dice to this character's attack roll for each damage they have. That's 1 die to this character's attack roll for each damage. That isn't restricted. Normally that's restricted to like a maximum of 3. This isn't restricted. So if you have 4 damage on Wolverine, he has 4 extra dice on his attacks. I imagine that's why they lowered his health to 5, because they didn't want to restrict that. They potentially wanted to give him an extra 4, the 4 dice attack if he's surviving on 1. So do not leave Wolverine on 1 health, is what I say to you players out there. Whew. But additionally, he cannot interact with or hold objective tokens. But I believe he can still sit on them to capture them. He still counts as a body on objectives. So an interesting thing, being able to throw him still onto objectives to hold them. But obviously with your meteorites and your hammers and stuff like that, you can't pick them up interacting with the herbs. You can't pick them up and hold them or anything like that, or citizen tokens as an example. But again, he maybe comes 1 or 2 damage. You get to 7 dice adamantium slash, the best at what I can do into an adamantium slash 7 dice with successes coming out the wazoo. The flip side of Wolverine is very, very scary. He also has immunity to stagger, which means he will get both his actions every single time he does activate, which is also really, really huge. Absolutely nice. So Wolverine, I think in the right hands, can do a lot of work. I think that Berserker Barrage alone is a very, very potent ability if you can give him that extra power. And on the flip side, if you haven't seen my Magneto video, check that out. You act like a magnet and just get attracted to it, because he has a really interesting affiliation that can benefit Wolverine and his abilities and his power generation really, really profusely, which I think is really, really exciting. But look, let's continue moving on. We have Sabretooth here, just very quickly. Absolutely no change between the flip side or not. No health change, no movement change. No defense change, no extra ability change, nothing. So I'm just going to quickly say that one. So I'll stick to the front side for now. All right, what's the most important thing about this card? And you're thinking, oh, well, he's got 5 dice, he's got a 7 dice, he's got aggression where he can move. You're all wrong. He has long movement. Game's over. Card's busted. Sabretooth absolutely bonkers, but busted beyond belief. He has long movement. I'm done. He also has size 3, which is interesting because obviously Wolverine is a size 2 but can calculate size 3 in certain circumstances. Sabretooth simply is just size 3, which is interesting. Obviously, you can see from that chest, though, much broader chest, much bigger boy. But interesting how they did that. I definitely felt like they wanted both characters to be size 3 a lot of the time. Means Wolverine can actually benefit from cover quite a lot of the time, whereas Sabretooth can't rely on cover. So very, very interesting. Basic 3-3-3 defense line. I'm surprised to not see Sabretooth 4, to be quite frank, considering, I guess, Wolverine's 4-3-2. So it's the same defense stat line, 9 across the board. But I'm surprised to not see Sabretooth at least 4 physical defense or something like that. Even maybe seeing 2 energy on the flip side, just because, he wants to be more melee focused. One of the big differences here as well is both Claw Slash and Savage Predator are both range 2 attacks. That makes Sabretooth very, very short range, which is something that you're going to have to remember and keep in mind a lot of the time. But before I jump heavily into them, again, Claw Slash is identical to Adamantium Slash in every way, shape, or form, down to the last word, just a different name. But why is range 2 important to note, but somewhat irrelevant? Now, we have the key ability here, Aggressive. After an attack targeting this character is resolved, if this character suffered damage, it may advance small towards the character. So it's kind of like the old Crossbones ability, where if you do attack Sabretooth at range, because obviously you want to try and pick him up and pepper him up a little bit before getting into combat, he can actually move towards you. That's really huge for taking objectives. That's really huge to get within threat ranges. That means that even with a Shuri trying to push him small back, he still gets to move forward as well. So Shuri becomes a little bit moot on that point. It's absolutely massive. Also got a healing factor 1. Just going to throw that in there really quick. I explained healing factor before, so it should be all good. Now, why else is this so awesome? Now, we have things like Untamed Force. It's just a counter-strike. It's a fairly basic counter-strike. Has to be within range 2. You can use the Claw Slash ability. Really, really huge. They both say after attack against this character is resolved, so I don't believe you get to Aggressive and then Untamed Force, but you might be able to. I need to confirm that one. When Sabretooth is out on Tabletop Simulator, I'll be playing a game and I will confirm that for everyone out there. But if you can, absolutely huge. Means that you can't really be within range 3 to attack Sabretooth, because he will just jump in there and punch you in the face really, really heavily, which is petrifying. So keep that in mind. Even though he has range 2 in his abilities, he has a long movement, so he's immediately in the fray. Very, very, very quickly in the fray. It's a good thing Drop-Off got banned, or else, whoa, man, that'd be some scary things for Sabretooth. He will be all up on the board very, very quickly. But yeah, Untamed Fury and aggressive very much allows him to move long, be on objectives, or see if he gets attacked, he can start moving forward, maybe away from key targets. Maybe he takes an objective and moves to the attacks. He can also just bail out pretty rapidly as well if need be, which is absolutely huge. We finally have No Mercy. No Mercy is the same as the Wild Rage, except it costs power. This one is to a maximum of 3. It also costs 3 power. So he's actually got a lot more power that he wants to spend, and he's just got his Claw Slash attack to kind of benefit from that, without a huge amount of way of actually generating power other than those 5 dice. So keep in mind, Pierce is actually really huge to try and generate power as well. But again, throwing him in Magneto and this affiliation that actually generates power, which is huge. If you haven't seen my affiliation tier list, I spoke a lot about that and how power generating affiliations are almost immediately more powerful than others, pun intended. But I think Sabretooth is going to fit really, really well into Brotherhood, being able to move around the board. I think I'm not going to go too much into Magneto, but you're going to have central areas of strength and power in this type of affiliation, particularly Sabretooth, and you're going to have giant areas of threat that just say you don't want to be in that area because you're going to die. But I'm going to jump into Savage Predator here as well. Keep in mind, No Mercy and Savage Predator. Huge power hit, 7 power if you want to combine these two, but you could potentially warrant 10 dice in this attack, which is huge. It's also got Finisher. After this attack is resolved, you make a Claw Slash attack. This character may reroll any number of dice during that attack. Now, if you notice, I mentioned again, Adamantium Slash, getting some cheeky rerolls into there to try and get the wilds for the best at what I can do. Well, this does a similar thing. It allows you to reroll any number of those dice. Again, almost guaranteeing a bleed, which is a cheeky 1 or 2 damage across a couple turns, which is really, really good. Don't underestimate the bleed. And again, Pierce as well. Again, giving them the bleed, removing a dice. That's 2 damage right there. With the hit and then the actual bleed. On top of anything else that you're actually rolling. So that's not bad. Just off a wild, you almost went for any 2 damage here again. With Wolverine, you're doing 3 damage potentially with the bleed, the pierce, and the extra hit on the best at what I do if you're kind of going down that path. So again, long movement range on Sabretooth, 6/6 health, Tonky Boy, healing factor 1, pretty Tonky Boy. Aggressive, giving him a lot of movement around the board. Like, you don't want to hit Sabretooth because he's going to be in your way, but you're going to have to deal with Sabretooth because a cheeky Claw Slash into a Savage Predator, into a Claw Slash again, like, turn 1, you get a bunch of power. Claw Slash, get like 2 or 3 power or something. Maybe you took a punch, you get another extra power or 2 from that. You heal it up anyway. Who cares? You're suddenly at 5 power. You get to No Mercy Savage Predator or Savage Predator into a Claw Slash again. Suddenly you're back up to 4 power, and you Savage Predator into Claw Slash again next turn. So there's just a lot of lethality on Sabretooth, considering that long movement allows him, like with aggressive and things like that, if people are attacking you, you actually get a lot of cheeky movement to move behind the character that's attacking you onto the threats in the back. And I think Sabretooth actually has, he's kind of like a hunter. He wants to stalk around a little, or a stalker, not a hunter. He wants to stalk, see what's happening, maybe sneak around and attack someone at the back, or just sit on his place, on the objective and just wait for you to come to him. And if you want to attack him, he'll move off the objective happily because he'll just kill you for it. Getting to be able to Savage Predator, Claw Slash, just kill you. Whereas someone like Wolverine, I think he's a bit more of a hunter. He wants to hunt and sniff out his prey in the back. He maybe wants to use that Berserker Barrage and the best at what I can do to get behind the major threats onto your glass cannons or onto your squishies or your support characters at the back. The Wong, like, he can easily kill a Wong in one hit. He could easily kill a Shuri in one hit. These squishy targets in the back definitely wants to hunt them down. Whereas maybe Sabretooth wants to sit on objective and just say, it's my objective. It's my zone of threat. If you want to come in here, I'm a claw you. Simple as that. That's my thoughts on it. Tell me maybe what you think the affiliations could work really, really well with these guys, what you'd put them in, maybe really cool synergies that you want to throw in, or maybe some cards that you want to throw into here as well. Unfortunately, no cards were released, but I've got a small speculation. I reckon there's going to be a card that allows Sabretooth or Wolverine to throw themselves at a character. I think there's going to be a card that allows that to happen, which I think is going to be really, really cool. But tell me what you're hoping for, what you're thinking. I'm going to throw you onto Ali. She's going to tell you how you can check out all our different social medias and things like that, as well as check out our website, generalgames.com.au, where we have have all your Marvel Crisis Protocol goodness at about 20% plus off RRP. We ship Australia-wide and all of that stuff, so check out the website. Definitely does help us a lot. Obviously, throw a like and subscribe if you can, but jump onto that website, flowing some traffic onto that. It's one of the best ways that you can support the YouTube channel, support General Games as a whole, and support me making this type of content. But you have yourself a wonderful night. I love you all out there. Stay safe. I'm going to throw you on to Ali. She's going to say goodbye for me. See ya.
What's up, everybody? My name is Scott, and if you enjoyed that video, please click on the YouTube thing. You can do the bell and all the notifications. It really helps us a lot, actually. Facebook, one of the most important things for us. It's all our events, our pre-orders, our information, alerts, opening hours, everything you'll find there. And, of course, last but not least, Instagram. It's a bunch of pictures, behind the scenes, all sorts of cool stuff. Thank you all for watching. Check it out next time. Bye.
Well, that's a strange looking alley right there. So that was a Scott. Scott said goodbye. Thank you all again. You have a wonderful night. Bye.